Welcome to Healing from A to Z with Masterful You and KB. Hi, I'm Chris Burke, and today we're going to be talking about depression. Depression is something that I suffered with on and off throughout my life. I grew up around some people who were very depressed, and I could see that that was a state that I didn't want to be in. But the interesting thing is that on some level, I actually learned about depression by being in the energy of people who were depressed. That energy actually became familiar to me. You might call it a comfort zone. So even though it was something that I didn't want, it was something that I was really familiar with. And if you're struggling with depression, then I invite you to think back to your childhood about whether or not there were people in that environment who demonstrated depression or depressive tendencies. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is what depression is, how I experienced depression, how I experienced freeing myself from depression, and how I've helped other people to do the same. And of course, I'm going to say that is by owning your experience, but that's not how it really started. In the beginning, the depression came from the fact that I was overwhelmed by a life that I felt powerless to change. It wasn't a life that I wanted. It was so much work and so much effort and so little reward for that. And I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. It just seemed like, oh my gosh, I forecast out what I'm doing right now, and I imagine that I'm doing it for another 20 years, another 40 years, whatever that number is. And it was like, I can't. I don't want to. I don't have interest in doing that. That is what depression is. It's this recognition that on a subconscious level often that the life that you're living is not enjoyable and it's not sustainable. So in the early years, we might try to fight that. We might try to fix it, right? I'm going to make this life better. And we try and we put effort in. But if we put effort in a way that doesn't lead to a change, doesn't lead to the desired results, then we end up with burnout. And we discover that flight doesn't work. And then we say, okay, fight. Naturally, our instincts are going to say, if I can't fight it, how do I flight it? How do I run away from this? And we'll try to escape in a number of different ways. We might try with addictions. Watch the addiction video if you want to know more about that. We might try with sleep, right? We might just try shutting down. We might sort of remove ourselves from our lives as much as we can, start making up excuses for not being engaged in the things that are going on. And we might literally leave our spouse or our partner or our families or our jobs. We might leave things and decide that it's the person or the situation that's the cause of our depression. And that if we get into a different situation with a different person or in a different job, that all of a sudden we're going to be happier. That can be true in the short term because the change can bring about some energy. But that doesn't mean that we've learned how to disengage our instincts, which when fight doesn't work and running away doesn't work, and ultimately we find out running away doesn't work. I don't know how many people I've had this discussion with, and I remember the first person who said it to me. You can never run away from yourself, right? Wherever you go, there you are. So it's always, unless we're in a dangerous situation, obviously, it's always best to stay where we are, hunker down and do the healing, and then move on from a place of peace. Because when we're in a place of peace, then we can make choices that our logical mind and our instincts and our intuition and our inspiration are all in agreement about. And those are the best choices that we can make. They're sustainable. So when fight and flight don't work, that's when freeze kicks in automatically. It's a survival mechanism and it happens automatically. Unconscious mind, instincts, boom. When we get overwhelmed, the instincts take over. They're there to keep us surviving, to do the things that we need to do in the situation to survive, not to be happy, not to create a life we love, not to turn our depression around, but to survive. And depression is a way of surviving. It's that way of shutting down and just conserving resources. It's like, I don't have the energy to do the life I'm living. I just don't, it's not getting fed back to me. I'm putting effort into my life and the energy is not coming back to me. And so I'm out of balance. I'm drained. I've tried fighting it. That didn't work. I tried escaping it. That didn't work. And so naturally, your instincts are going to do the only thing they have left, and that is to shut down. So they're going to go into freeze mode, and you're going to walk around with this heavy energy and no interest in doing anything other than surviving the moment. That's what it feels like. It's a place of hopelessness, of, what's the point? I'm stuck in this experience. There's no way out. We have all of these kinds of thoughts. And just to be clear, these thoughts are not your thoughts. These are the thoughts that come along with this experience. When we're in an experience of depression, our thoughts are those of depression, of that energy. When we're in a experience of joy, our thoughts are naturally thoughts that resonate with joy. And so as we move on this compass, this experiential compass, from 1 to 10, where 1 is, I'm so depressed I can't get out of bed in the morning, or I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, because maybe you actually do haul yourself out, and good for you. But 1 is, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning because I have so little interest in doing my life right now. And 10 is, I am blissfully happy on my journey, knowing that the ups and downs are part of what happens. Where are you right now on that scale? This is an intuitive question, but your intuition and your inspiration are your way out of depression. They will guide you out of depression into a life you live. We have to listen, and we have to actually ask them the questions that will lead us forward. So that's what we're going to do together right now. I want you to understand that, first of all, if you're depressed, nobody ever taught you how not to be. So that's part of the human experience. I've been depressed many times in my life. Everybody I know has been depressed. They may not have admitted it because for some reason in our society, we're ashamed to admit the truth of the human experience. But let me tell you, depression is very much a part of the human experience. When we try to change our situation with approaches that we're doing our best, but we don't, it's all we have and it's not effective, then we tend to conclude that there is something wrong with us. You are not the problem. The problem is simply that you have an approach. Your understanding of depression is probably that it's something wrong with you, not that it's part of the human experience that we all go through. And number 2, you don't have an approach that works yet. So that's what I'm all about. Like, let's get us approaches to life's human things that happen to all of us. And let's stop blaming ourselves and shaming ourselves. And let's actually say, oh, okay, this is the experience I'm in right now. That's okay, because now I know what to do about it. And what we're going to do about it is we're going to interview our experience. So write down 3 things that are causing your depression right now. What are 3 things that you simply cannot have in your life anymore that you need to change? Write those 3 things down. Then write down 3 things that absolutely have to stay the same. What are those? Put a circle around that. That's your starting point. That is how you're perceiving your situation right now. It's not right or wrong. It simply is. Now you're going to say, okay, I'm currently at whatever number you chose, and this is the way I'm perceiving my situation. Let's interview that situation. Let's interview your experience of that situation at the number you're at. So you're going to write down, I think. Like currently, these are the thoughts I'm thinking. You are not the thoughts. You are thinking the thoughts, right? So write down, I'm thinking. And then write down what you feel. What do you feel? What's the emotion? Then write down what you say and do to yourself and others. What's the self-talk? And what are you saying to other people? Are you telling people that you're depressed, or are you just making excuses and pretending that everything is okay? Are you telling people why you're depressed? Or are you telling yourself why you're depressed? Just write that down. What are you saying and doing? What do you sense in your body? What does depression feel like in your body right now? What do you feel like in your body? Just scan along. Do you notice any heaviness, any tension? Is there any little place where there's like a flicker of energy? Notice it all. And then finally, what do you know is true? What do you know is true for you being at this number? Great. Well done. Now you've got your starting point. You're looking at reality. And I always say, if you want to go from Boston to LA, then you need to be able to start in Boston. You need to actually start where you are. A lot of times we're sitting over here in depression and we're like, well, if my situation were different, then this is what I would do. But you can't do it because your situation isn't currently different, right? So we actually have to start with, oh, well, actually, the truth is that I'm right here. And I can come up with ways to change that experience. You change your experience and the situation around you changes. It shifts. You see it differently. You start to see options where before you didn't see any. People start to behave differently. I know it sounds impossible if this is new to you, but it happens. When you start focusing on what's going on inside your experience, the situations and people around you begin to evolve. They begin to shift along with your internal focus. You don't have to believe me. Just give yourself the opportunity to try it and experience it for yourself. So what is that experience that you're going for? When you're looking at that scale of 1 to 10, where you are right now, where are you going? Set your destination. I always recommend that you choose a 7 or 8 or something that feels approachable. Yes, approachable, but also not a 10, because a 10, as you move along in this experience and things start shifting, you start seeing the world differently and feeling differently, thinking differently, sensing different sensations in your body, knowing different things. When all of that starts happening, you're going to realize a 10 is way better than we have typically been led to believe, right? We're just not aware of it. But when you start to experience that 7, you start going, oh my gosh, this is life-changing. I'm going to keep going. I want to find out what my 8 is. I want to find out what my 9 is, right? And you'll keep going. Nobody will be able to stop you, and depression will be an ancient memory. You'll say, oh, I remember it all started because of my depression. Wow, I'm so grateful I was depressed enough to seek help. That's what you're doing right now. Okay, so at this new number, let's decide what that's going to be. When I am at a whatever your number is, I am going to think these thoughts. What are the thoughts you will think at that number? What are the feelings you will have? I will feel. I will say and do to myself and others. I will sense in my body, how is being in your skin going to feel different? And then finally, I will know. What will you know when you're at that number? When you've had this experiential change, this transformation, when you've gone from depression to whatever number you chose, what are you going to know is true about you and your life? Allow yourself to be inspired. One of the things about depression is that we feel disconnected from our inspiration and our intuition, like our inner guidance, our higher guidance, that spark, that energy that says, oh, that looks like fun. Oh, I want to do more of that. That part of you, that energy, you feel disconnected from it. You're not. It never goes anywhere. But you could have a lot of energetic blocks to it, that you don't want to hear it. You can also have your mind in a situation where, it's kind of doing the Wonder Woman thing, like inspiration is sending in these ideas like, oh, why don't you take your dog for a walk, right? And Wonder Woman bracelet comes up and says, I can't, I don't have the energy, right? That can happen too. All of this is perfectly natural, perfectly human. So now it's just about committing to this transformation. Don't be surprised if you wrote down some of the things about depression, like maybe you're watching a lot of TV, or maybe you're sleeping, or maybe you're doing something that actually feels nurturing to yourself, and you wrote down those things as things that you don't want to change. Pay attention to that, right? Is it possible? Like, ask yourself, interview your intuition. Is it possible for me to continue to allow myself to have enough rest, to have enough quiet? Maybe you're introverted and you need a lot of quiet. Is it possible for me to still do that and actually have more energy? Can I choose it instead of actually shutting myself down so that I have no other choice? I know I used to get sick after big consulting projects. Like, I would push and push and push. There were times when I would work 2 days straight, like round the clock, to meet client deadlines. And right after those engagements were up, I would inevitably end up in bed for a week. Why? Because I couldn't give myself permission to give my body what I needed. And so it would wait until I was done with whatever I'd committed to. And then it would just shut me down. You're going to go lie on the couch for a week and watch TV and, blow your nose or whatever. And I would know that the timing of it was interesting because it happened over and over and over again. I didn't know how back then to give myself permission to rest. And so my body would take it into its own hands, so to speak, right? So if you're writing down some things that are actually you're associating with depression, you might want to ask yourself, are they necessarily associated with depression, or have I just not yet learned how to give myself permission to have the things that I need, that I value, that re-energize me, that give me a chance to rest and feel comfortable in my skin, feel at peace in my skin. Okay, the final piece of this is to ask yourself, it's not really the final piece, it's the final piece of this exercise. It's your starting point, right? It's the place where you get empowered to create a life you love, a life that is sustainable, a life where you're not burned out. Yeah, think about that. So the last piece is we're going to interview our unconscious mind. Our conscious mind is great at setting direction, at setting a goal. I want to be at this number, and this is how that's going to be, right? But it needs, and it's great at asking questions. So what do I, is it possible for me to keep some of these things that I don't want to change and not be depressed? It's great at seeing the need to ask those kinds of questions and then asking them. What we need the unconscious mind for, so that's made up of our instincts, our intuition, our inspiration. We need our unconscious mind to answer those questions and to deliver the path to the destination that we want. So a lot of times people will call it serendipity, or they'll call it, find out how did you end up in your dream job, or how did you meet your spouse, or whatever. Those situations, how did they come about? We'll call it the unconscious mind, right? Because it's not the part of the mind that we're aware of. It's connected to something unconscious. So we're going to interview our unconscious mind where all of the answers are. and you wait for the answer to come. So the question that we're going to ask now is, what do I need to know or do to move along in my journey toward my destination, your desired experience, your chosen experience? What do I need to know or do? We're going to put it in what I call the magic toaster, and we're going to wait for the answer to come. This can sound funny if you're hearing it for the first time, but think about when you lose your keys, you don't know where they are, or you can't think of a name, right? And it's like, oh, I know this name. I say it all the time. It's right on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming. You're thinking, and it won't come. And then you're like, it'll come to me. And later, when you're not thinking about it, boom, it pops in. That's what I'm talking about. The conscious mind doesn't have access to all of the information right now. It has access to what's happening right here. So we need to actually go to the unconscious that stores all of the memories, that stores all of the information. We need to get the information there. If you know about computers, it's kind of like the computer going to ask the memory, right? It doesn't keep everything in memory because you couldn't function. It puts it away, or it doesn't keep it all in RAM, right? Accessible memory. It puts it in storage, and then it knows where it is, and it goes to get it. So we're doing something like that. We're asking our unconscious mind, what is it that I need to know that I don't right now? What is it that I need to do in order to move myself forward? And I'll tell you, one of the things that happened to me, I was depressed, didn't know it, was kind of in denial about it. I was, I was kind of going through the motions, right? So I was actually moving and going through the motions, but I was depressed. And I was walking through Tractor Supply one day, and I saw a sign for puppies, for Australian cattle dogs. And it caught my eye. So intuition, like, what's that? Take a look at that. And instantly, I already had a dog, and I was like, I don't need another dog. No, that's a ridiculous thing. But I walked over anyway, and I pulled off one of the little tags with the phone number on it. And for the next 2 weeks, I called the woman, I asked about the puppies. It was like, well, maybe I'll come see them. And then I talked myself out of it, right? So intellect is saying, no, you're not doing that. The rational thing is that you don't get another dog. You don't need another dog. Your husband does not want another dog, right? And then a few days later, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just go see them. So long story long, I end up going to see the puppies, and the woman opens the fence, and the 3 puppies come running out, and 2 of them take off into the yard to play together. And one of them comes running up to me and puts her front paws up on me like, thank God you're here. I've been waiting for you. And that was it. I brought her home, and she reminded me how to laugh. She actually put me in touch with the fact that I was depressed, because I realized I wasn't laughing. I wasn't joyful. I was working so darn hard, and I was so focused on my goals that I wasn't making any time for fun. And this dog, Missy, is a riot, and she made me laugh every day. I would literally be playing with her, rolling on the grass, laughing, holding my stomach. And I thought, I understand. This is why she was brought to me, because actually I needed to bring more light, more joy into my life to be able to be the person that I wanted to be, to have the experience that I had determined I wanted. But I wasn't asking the question, do I need a dog? I was asking, what do I need to know or do? And when those intuitions came up, even knowing what I do, the intuition came up, I still fought against it. So that can be the experience. When it keeps popping up into your mind, please pay attention to it. It's important. It may be an answer to a question that you don't know you have. One of the reasons this question's kind of big and broad is, what do I need to know or do? I mean, that could be anything. And that's what we need, because we just need the sparks to start coming. We need the pieces to come. We need to see the step. We need the inspiration that allows us to see something differently and say, oh, I see a way forward. Oh, I see a place for me to have some fun, some more peace. This is what this is. I hope this gives you hope. That is my wish for you. Hope is a powerful energy if you can connect with that again. It's still there. You've lost faith in it, but you can get that back. So on Fridays at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, you can tune in with my dear friend and colleague Judy Forder and I, and we will do a live Q&A. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, spread the word. People do not have to suffer in their depression. We just don't have to. We can do better. We can create a world where we are informed, where we understand what's happening in our experience, and we can take ownership of that. Go to masterfulyou.com for more information. Thank you for sharing your precious time with me. Thank you for all of your support. And thank you most of all for being you.